Algebra 2, lesson 26. We're going to be on page 120. And we're going to do kind of an extension of the lesson that we did yesterday in 25 by factoring what's called a trinomial. And so if you look at 26.1, you're going to find this trinomial which says x squared plus 6 minus 5x. Alright, this is not in what I would call descending order, which means that we want to put the x squared followed by the x. So we're going to put minus 5x plus 6. Same thing, just in a different format. So we're going to now take this expression, okay, and we're going to factor it, okay. Now we know that the x squared and the x here are both possible, so we have to take and instead of having only one parentheses, we're going to have two. And when you have an x squared, you will always start with x and x inside the parentheses, because x times x will eventually give you the x squared, which is represented up here. So we know that that's the case, okay? So let's do this idea of factoring. Now, how do you get, and again, this is the answer. We're looking for like how to set up the problem. So we have to look at this 5 and this 6, okay? In order to come up with the numbers that satisfy these questions, this number right here will tell us something, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to say there are two numbers that when added equal a negative 5. Don't worry about the x for right now, just worry about this negative 5. And then for this number, there are two numbers that are multiplied together that equal a positive 6, okay? This one is added, this one is multiplied. Okay, what two numbers added together equal a negative 5? And the same two numbers multiplied together equal a positive 6. Well, I do know this, that a negative 3 plus a negative 2 equals a negative 5. Does a negative 3 times a negative 2 equal a positive 6? And the answer to that is yes, both are true. So what I know is that this number and this number can go in here, and it doesn't matter what order. This is my factor of the x squared plus 6 minus 5x, or rearranged x squared minus 5x plus 6. So that's how you do a factorization in that section, okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, we have a negative x squared, this is 26.2, plus 5x plus 14. All right, we have a problem here because we can never factor a negative, okay? So we have to multiply the whole thing by a negative 1 so that this turns positive, which has implications here and here. So negative 1 times 1x squared is x squared minus 5x minus 14. All right, let's do the same thing. We know x squared means that we have two x's, so we have something plus something equals a negative 5, and we have something times something equaling a negative 14. Okay, what in the world are we going to do? Well, maybe look at the 14. There's a couple of things, like 2 times 7 we know equals 14. Can we put those numbers in here to somehow make that equal a negative 5? Well, yeah. If we have a negative 7 plus a positive 2, we get a negative 5. And if we have a negative 7 times a positive 2, we get a negative 14. So there's our numbers. It's negative 7 and a positive 2, and there's our answer. Okay? So not too difficult to make these happen. And you're going to see one more look in 26.3 where the problem is this: 24 plus 6x minus 3x squared. Well, there is a problem here because first of all, it's not in descending order. Okay, so let's make this descending order happen. Okay, we're going to put a negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 24. Now, when you have a coefficient out here, that means that you're still going to have your x and your x, but this coefficient out here is going to drop, is going to be on the outside because we're going to multiply that in between there. Okay. Now, if that's the case, and if 3 is on the outside, we basically have to divide both of these numbers by 3. So we're going to get this new equation. We're going to get x squared plus 2x plus 12. Okay, or excuse me, plus 8, not 12, 8. Okay, so if we have that, if we have x squared plus 2x plus 8, and we still have that negative, we have to multiply by the negative, and then to get rid of this negative, so now we're going to say that it's x squared minus 2x minus 8. Again, we can't have this negative out here on the outside. Okay? Okay, so now we go back to our parentheses. Okay? So something plus something equals a negative 2. Something times something equals a negative 8. What are those two numbers? Well, if I have a negative 4 and a positive 2, negative 4 plus 2 equals negative 2, and a negative 4 times a positive 2 gives me 8. So inside my parentheses here, okay, it's going to be a negative 4 and a positive 2. And what do we do with this 3 over here? Well, again, we're going to make that negative 3 stand because we have to bring this negative back into the actual final equation. So it's x minus 4 times x plus 2. Okay? All right, I think you understand that. The next section deals with overlapping triangles, and again, this goes back to scale factor. All right, so if I have a triangle that looks like this, and the right triangles here, I have 6 and I have 4. Call this A, call this B, and this is C, and I have a height of 4. Okay, if I undo those triangles into small ones, I have A, I have 4, and I have 6, and the large triangle, okay, is going to be 10, C, and A and B. Right? We don't know all of those. Okay, so how can we figure these out? Well, we can figure out A, no problem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we can do that really easily, and you can find A rather simply. Okay, we also know that if we have A and complete A, we can make that happen. Here's the other way to do it. You notice that this 6, which correlates here, and this 10, which is 6 plus 4, can give us a scale factor. So we could say 6 scale factor equals 10. Divide by 6, divide by 6. So scale factor is equal to 10 over 6. So we can use this fraction to multiply by any number to get the whole. All right, and that's exactly what we find the ability to do. So just note that that is the way we figure these things out. So in this case, we have 6 squared, 36, plus 4 squared, which is 16, gives us 52. Okay, square root 52 is a, and can that be broken down into something a little bit easier? No, it can't. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply square root of 52 by 10 over 6 to come up with this whole thing. Well, 10 over 6 reduces to 5 over 3. So I want this whole thing. So square root of 52 times 5 over 3. Can we do that? Well, yeah, we can. So that's going to equal 5, this right here is going to equal 5 to the square root of 52 over 3. Okay, and then we also note that this b is also going to be multiplied by 3 as well. Okay, so when that happens, we have 2 to the square root of 52 equals 3b, and then 2 to the square root of 52 equals 3b. And when we simplify this, when we take it out of b, we're going to divide by 3 and divide by 3, which this reduces. We can actually reduce that, and simplified, we come up with 4 to the square root of 13 over 3. Okay, so we can find out what b equals in that scenario. Maybe a little bit confusing, but I think you're going to find it not too difficult. You're going to find that problem on number 22. And again, if you have questions, I can work it out with you when you're working on your lesson. Okay, this is lesson 26, and ask if you have any questions.